Let's shed some light on some myths involving keeping pairs of birds. Hello everyone, welcome back to the Parrot Teacher. I'm David and today we're doing some myth busting basically on keeping pairs of birds. There's loads of myths out there about what it's like for bonding, what it's like for taming, what it's like for training when you have a pair of birds or more than one, and I want to dispel some of those because some of them can be quite harmful and may mislead people into making choices that may not be ideal for them or their parrots. Now, just to start off with, unlike some other channels on here, I don't think there's any shame in keeping a solo parrot. We do prefer and recommend keeping birds in at least pairs because it's better for them. But if you have a solo parrot, that's completely fine. I've talked about it with interviews and other stuff. It just means you have to put more effort into them. But let's talk about some of the myths surrounding keeping pairs of birds and see if we can dispel them. Now, the most common myth I encounter is if you have more than one bird, they won't bond with you, they won't want to be with you, they want to interact with you. And this does come from a true source. However, it is completely misleading. The true source is when a parrot's allowed to become incredibly hormonal, it doesn't get regular training, doesn't get regular interaction, and it literally just has its bonded pair and nothing else, then of course it's not going to want to interact with you or anyone else. It's going to want to be with that parrot. And if it's allowed to get to the hormonal point where they're constantly nesting, they are going to attack when you come near them. That is a completely natural behaviour because they're protecting their nest and you haven't put enough money in the bank there. So what we want to do is basically prevent your parrot from getting to that hormonal state. I've got a hormones playlist, I'll leave a card for one of the videos now. That is the only context in which a parrot will exhibit these behaviours. As a general rule, if you have a pair of birds or you introduce another bird, they will still bond with you. You will still be part of their flock. They will still be happy to interact with you. It's only when the person generally doesn't put enough money in the bank through training, interactions, and positive reinforcement. We keep 4 different pairs of birds with all different circumstances. A pair came to us as a pair, the others we bonded up and they had interactions at different times. All of them are happy with me and Sophie to the greater and lesser degree, maybe excluding Kipling there, but all of the birds apart from Kipling are happy with me and Sophie and interact with us perfectly well. And we maintain our bond with them, they accept us as part of the flock and they enjoy interacting with us. So don't let someone tell you that, oh, if you have another bird, they're not going to want to interact with you at all. It's not true. There's many factors that come into play with it. You can't just make a blanket statement like that. The next myth I have seen online, especially on TikTok a lot, is they will fight constantly. If you have more than one bird, they will fight all the time. Again, we come back to that whole environment and their individual circumstances. It's a bit of a generality to say they're always going to fight. How do you know? You know, they have individual personalities. Some parrots, when you introduce them, will bond instantly. Others will take a lot of extra time. Others will sometimes snipe at each other and be a bit funny, but be fine the rest of the time. It's all about those individual birds. Saying a blanket statement like they will always fight is just untrue. And that neatly leads on to the next one, that if you have a parrot and you get another one of the same species, they're automatically going to be bonding, they're going to be completely fine. Again, it's completely untrue. Just because someone introduces me to another human doesn't mean I'm instantly going to bond with them and I'm going to want to share my house with them. It's exactly the same when you bring another cockatiel home and you've got a cockatiel that's used to being on its own. You pop it in the same cage and they start fighting, or they may bond, I don't know. Sometimes it varies on the individual, but you can't expect things to just work like that. Sometimes you have to put a bit of extra effort in, you have to bond them, you have to get them to know each other. Generally, I like to see it as prepare for the worst in those situations. Sometimes you will bring another bird home and they will be completely happy and they will share that environment and be great. Most of the time you'll get something in the middle, the other times they will get fighting. If you prepare for the worst and you do the bonding exercises, you're going to set your bird up for much more success and they're all going to be happier. But he won't automatically get on, just as like they won't automatically fight. Another very common myth I see perpetuated about having a pair of birds or more birds is that you can't bond a bird later on in life to another bird, or you can't bond with a mated pair or a pair of birds later on. Completely untrue. It's again down to effort and work. Small steps, loads of training, loads of positive reinforcement, making those positive learning experiences so they associate you with good things. Similarly with other birds, it is possible when they're older, completely fine. I'm going to say something a bit harsh here. Most of the time when it doesn't work, it's down to laziness. There will be exceptions where circumstances dictate that the environment isn't right and that bird may be better in an aviary, but a lot of the time if you put some effort in, you can at least achieve some tolerance. I've saved my favourite for last. The first one was the one that annoys me the most. The last one is the one I find most amusing, and this is something that people say a lot, and I find it very confusing because we recommend the exact opposite. And I saw it recommended again on TikTok because TikTok is great for this sort of thing. When you have a pair of birds, you don't need extra resources. They're going to be completely fine in the same cage space. They're going to be completely fine with the same amount of food, you know, and toys and stuff. Who says that? You know, honestly, if you have kids, you probably know exactly what truth there is in that. If you have an extra bird, you've got a bird, you want to get another one, you need to get a bigger cage, honestly. It needs a bigger space. Everything needs to be doubled. You need to have double food, double water, otherwise they're going to fight. They're going to be squabbles and resources. You want extra toys. Everything needs to be extra. You can't just have the same resource and expect both birds to get on with it, or just literally double fill one seed bowl and think, oh yeah, I've got an extra bit of food, so they're going to be fine. It's not true. You need to have those extra resources. It's a complete myth that they'll just be happy sharing. So, do you guys have any myths or things about keeping pairs of pet birds that you want to explore? Please leave them down in the comments, but in the meantime, loads more content on the channel. Take care and see you later.